You have a memory right now that never happened. Not a vague one. Not a dream you half remember. A real, specific, confident memory. One you have probably told to other people. Of something that did not occur. And here's the part that should unsettle you. If I showed you proof it was false, you would not believe me. You would think the proof was wrong. Hold that thought. Because by the end of this video, you are going to question something you have never questioned before. Now before I explain why this happens to everyone, and I mean everyone, let me tell you what a psychologist named Elizabeth Loftus did in a lab in the 1970s. She took ordinary people, showed them footage of a car accident, and then asked them one simple question. And with that question, she rewrote their memories. Not temporarily, permanently. She did not hypnotize anyone. She did not trick anyone. She changed a single word. That is all it took. We will get to exactly how she did it. But first, you need to understand something that most people get completely wrong about their own minds. Memory is not a recording. Most people think of it like a video file. Something captured at the moment it happened, stored unchanged, available for playback whenever you need it. That model is wrong. Deeply, fundamentally wrong. Memory is a reconstruction. Every single time you remember something, you are not retrieving it. You are rebuilding it from fragments, from assumptions, from your current mood, your current beliefs, your current sense of who you are. Not perfectly, not neutrally, with all of your biases built in. And every time you do that rebuilding, you change the memory slightly. You add things that were not there. You remove things that were. You shift the emotional tone. Then you store that altered version as though it were the original. The next time you remember it, you rebuild from the altered version, and alter it again. Think about a clear childhood memory right now. Maybe it is your first day of school. Maybe it is a birthday party where something went wrong. Maybe it is a family trip you have not thought about in years. A specific afternoon, a specific face, a specific moment that still feels vivid. You can probably picture it. It feels real. It feels yours. Here is what is actually happening. That memory has been reconstructed dozens, maybe hundreds of times over your lifetime. Each reconstruction changed it a little. The version you just recalled is not the original. It is the most recent draft of a story your brain has been quietly rewriting for years. That is not a flaw. That is just how human memory works. But the consequences, as we are about to see, are stranger than most people ever realize. Back to Elizabeth Loftus. In her car accident study, participants watched the same footage. Then some were asked how fast the cars were going when they smashed into each other. Others were asked how fast they were going when they contacted each other. One word. That was the only difference. The smashed group estimated significantly higher speeds. Fine, maybe that is just a biased question affecting an estimate. But here's where it gets genuinely strange. When questioned a week later, the smashed group was significantly more likely to report seeing broken glass at the scene. There was no broken glass. The word smashed did not just influence how they described what they saw, it altered what they believed they had witnessed. A real memory had become a slightly false one, without any awareness that anything had changed. And this is where things get strange. Loftus went further. She designed studies to plant entirely fabricated events into people's childhood memories. Being lost in a shopping mall, spilling punch on a bride at a family wedding, being attacked by a dog at age 5. She did not use hypnosis. She did not use drugs. She simply told participants that a family member had confirmed the event happened, asked them to try to remember it, and then followed up in later sessions. 25 to 30% of participants developed clear, confident, emotionally detailed memories of things that had never occurred. If you are thinking you would never fall for that, so did they. Some of these participants became emotional recalling the details. Some added information that was not even in the planted suggestion. Elaborations that came entirely from their own imagination, now fully integrated into what they were absolutely certain was a real experience from their past. And none of them knew. In the 1990s, the stakes of all this moved from the laboratory into the real world. And what happened was devastating. Therapists working with patients on trauma began using techniques, guided imagery, hypnosis, dream interpretation, that they believed could help uncover buried memories of childhood abuse. Many patients began recalling vivid, emotionally powerful memories of events from decades earlier. Many of those memories turned out to be false. Families were torn apart, people went to prison, lives were destroyed, and the people holding these memories were not lying. They were not confused. They were certain. The memories felt as real as anything they had ever experienced. This is the thing that the recovered memory controversy forced everyone to confront. The vividness of a memory, the emotional intensity, the absolute certainty. None of that tells you whether it actually happened. You can feel completely sure about something that is entirely invented. That is an uncomfortable idea to sit with, especially when you think about how often you trust your own certainty. So what is actually happening in your brain? Memory is not stored in one place. It is distributed across multiple regions, stitched back together every time you recall something. The hippocampus plays a central role. It is the structure most involved in forming new personal memories. But here's what most people do not know about it. The hippocampus does not just store memories, it fills in gaps. Your brain is not a passive recorder sitting in the background quietly capturing everything. Think of it more like a detective, one who is always working with incomplete evidence, always making inferences, always constructing the most plausible version of events from whatever fragments it has. When you remember something, your brain generates it. It uses the fragments it stored as a starting point and fills in the rest with what probably happened, what usually happens, what makes sense given everything else it knows. When information is missing, your brain does what it always does. It guesses, and that guess is shaped by whatever is happening at the moment of recall, your mood, the questions you were just asked, the last conversation you had, a single word someone used. All of it can quietly enter the reconstruction without you ever noticing. Neuroscientist Daniel Schachter at Harvard spent years mapping what he calls the 7 sins of memory, the ways human memory reliably and predictably fails. 2 of the most relevant here are misattribution, remembering something correctly but getting the source completely wrong, and suggestibility, absorbing outside information into a memory as though it were always part of the original experience. These are not symptoms of damage or disorder. They are features of a normal, healthy, functioning human brain. Features that likely evolved because a flexible, predictive memory is more useful than a rigid, literal one. The cost of that flexibility is accuracy. Here's the part most people find hardest to accept. The memories you are most confident about are probably the most distorted ones, not because confidence correlates with falseness, but because the memories you recall most often are the ones you have reconstructed and altered the most times. The stories you have told at dinner tables and family gatherings. The defining moments that explain who you are. These are the ones that have been through the most drafts. Your most treasured memory has been reconstructed more times than almost any other, which means it has had more opportunities to drift from what actually happened. Think about that specific childhood memory again, the one you pictured earlier. How many times have you recalled it? How many times have you told it? How many small details might have shifted without you ever knowing? You cannot know. That is the point. None of this means your memories are worthless. It does not mean you cannot trust yourself. Memory still works. It is still how you learn, how you connect, how you understand who you are. But it means this: the version of your past that lives inside you is not the past. It is a story your brain has been quietly revising, adding scenes, adjusting dialogue, rewriting characters, for your entire life. And the person at the center of that story, the version of yourself that your memory has constructed, may be the most elaborately invented thing your mind has ever produced. Not because you are broken, because memory was never designed to preserve the past. It was designed to help you survive the future. And it turns out that for that purpose, a story that feels true works just as well as one that actually is.